It's 58, so I have 1 minute, and then 1 minute till the radio shuts off. Oh no! I tried an 11-minute Wi-Fi iPhone app upload to YouTube, and it worked. But sometimes it doesn't work. And it must relate to the traffic somewhere. It's either my phone to my router or to my computer router to YouTube. Like, Wi-Fi is based on some analog algorithm that was used in black holes. Some mathematician had some algorithm for tracking the signature that comes from a black hole, and he realized it's a good way to carry data, I think. And in terms of science, if you don't think it's worth spending like 16 billion euros on CERN and the Large Hadron Collider to find the Higgs boson, then you're ignorant of man's quest in reality to understand our place in the cosmos and what that means to developed countries and intelligent people and decide where to spend tax dollars. Like, that's so important. The Royal Society was founded in 1660 for that whole purpose. And we need to find out stuff. Like, it's beautiful. So yeah, so we gotta thank Black Hole Research for Wi-Fi, and, well, I didn't read the message, and I should have. And if I read the message, I'd know I can cancel it or upload it again. So on the turn of the hour, the radio should shut off. I was 1 second late, but we didn't hear the chirps. Oh shit, so we missed... There was no chirps, obviously, but DAB has a big delay. "27, 28, 29. And I'm not sure if the song had structure to permit recognizing the delay between DAB and the computer. And I don't know why the computer is so far behind. This is like the moment. And BBC Radio 1, Pete Tong, he's live at Hull. It's the first time I've seen Radio 1 with a live broadcast. And if I called somebody, it'd be cool. I'd call somebody that's there, and I'd have a real-time rendering, and I could see like how much the delay is. And then also, if I actually called him, this is where it gets interesting. If I called him on a radio, a hand radio with a broadcasting, if I could hear directly a live broadcast by two handheld radios, and it's just the speed of light. For example, between London and St. John's, Newfoundland, it's like 3,755 kilometers, and I think that light travels at like, is it 399,000 kilometers per second? And basically, when you divide 82 into it, it's like a microsecond delay. And I just mean that you couldn't have enough people film that kind of broadcast on with the delay. What is the delay on radio between here and Hull by radio and computer and DAB, and then do the same for a place in Newfoundland, the same person with a video that can record at certain frames per second or bytes per second, and be able to hack into the video file and have an image flash so that you can get the byte and get the byte reference to the UTC. But then you need to have a good atomic time source like I got, but then you had to go on the French Institute of Weights and Measures and have them rendering or flashing some kind of signature. And there is a way for a 12-year-old science student to ask the French Institute of Weights and Measures and to have a radio station broadcast on FM and computer and DAB with certain QR codes, and have the same thing done in Canada. And there might be a way for a student to get a rough estimate for the speed of speed of light, considering the route across the Atlantic on whatever fiber optic cable and how that message just comes back and forth, because the delay for me with the radio station on computer and FM for BBC Radio 1 in England should be the same as for my niece, because if she's in, her name's Hannah, she's beautiful, she's 8, and we all think our family's beautiful, but they're not all beautiful, but she is beautiful. And I'll show you Hannah. So I got to walk and talk and show you Hannah. So basically, I'm going to do a little experiment with her on the phone, and if she listens to Oz FM, www.ozfm.com, she'll have a delay for Oz FM between FM and the computer, and I'll have a delay for FM to computer for BBC Radio 1. And because I'm across the Atlantic, we both should have the same delay. So she'll listen. Did I just lose myself? I think I did. So if we talk on the phone, there's 3 routes here. There's the internet north. Sorry, there's the internet east and west for radios, for internet transmissions of ozfm.com and bbc.co.uk/radio 1 live. And if we both have our FM radios on, we have the same delay. But I'm assuming I listen to her delay, because if we talk by telephone, then if there's less computers that delay the signal, if we're ahead of time, then I should hear BBC Radio 1 on my computer either before or after she hears that next moment in BBC Radio 1 on her computer. And if I listen on my computer to ozfm.com and I talk to her while she hears the same song by ozfm.com on her computer, irregardless of FM, that's a different part of the equation for the delay of the signal, and when the signal originates based on exact UTC to the millisecond or microsecond. Millisecond. A 12-year-old could model all this, but you'd have to have the right song broadcast at the same time, because a song would have to be like an electro song with like very structured beats that you can reference for the accuracy of whatever equipment you're going to use. And I'm talking about maybe the iPhone 5. So she'd have to know the technological advance of the iPhone 5, how it generates its whatever file it makes. Like, what are the file types for video on the iPhone? You'd have to know the binary structure of that phone to reference then what group of kilobytes might correspond to a sound and whatever channels there are, to start getting a timestamp and then looking at the gravitational time dilations. No, not gravitational time dilations, because you can assume that the altitude above sea level for London is the same as it is for St. John's. St. John's at sea level, and I'm like in Purley, but that's arbitrary, because let's say that all of central London is at sea level, because the tide influences the Thames at, Waterloo Bridge, for example. But you can work all this out. It can all be modeled, and she can model this. And based on her modeling, if you're clever enough, like 11 or 12-year-old, if you see this video, you can start studying enough science and mathematics to work and do the experiments, and have all your friends do the experiment, and have certain radio stations. Well, it's got to be like U.S. St. John's and London, because let's say the most direct route is across the Atlantic by the same maybe fiber optic cable, because in terms of FLAG, which stands for fiber optic link around the globe, there must only be 1 or 2 fiber optic cables across the Atlantic, because my dad laid them. He did all of Europe around Africa to Asia, so I don't know who did, but in terms of Cantat 1, Cantat 2, and 3, the first copper, there was 3 paradigms of cables across the Atlantic. There was copper cables, and there was like coaxial cables, and then obviously there'll be fiber optic, but I don't know how many fiber optic cables, but it's modelable. Like, she can model that, and you just got to know the routes and the hubs and the computer delay, and just model it based on quantum dynamics, not quantum dynamics, QED. You get the idea. It's just a nice problem. Oh, timestamp. It's like 10:07, 1, 2, 3.